We went to the rap party that this was it for the Andy Griffith Show. Ron Howard may have been the red-headed darling of the Andy Griffith Show, but life behind Mayberry's white picket fences wasn't always so picture-perfect. While viewers saw a tight-knit small-town family on screen, the real dynamics were far more complicated. Sure, Howard shared laugh with Andy Griffith and Don Knotts, but there was one cast member he quietly loathed. And he wasn't alone. That same person also sparked the one feud even Andy Griffith couldn't forgive. The tension was real. The resentment ran deep. And for decades, it was kept tightly under wraps until now. This is the castmate who drove a wedge behind Mayberry's curtain. The Andy Griffith Show. The Andy Griffith Show may be remembered as one of television's most wholesome and nostalgic sitcoms, but behind the sweet southern charm of Mayberry lay a world far more complex. Premiering on CBS on October 3, 1960, and running until April 1, 1968, the show delivered 249 half-hour episodes over 8 seasons, 159 in black and white and 90 in color. And while it portrayed a simpler time, the making of the show wasn't always as peaceful as the town it brought to life. The show actually began as a backdoor pilot on The Danny Thomas Show, introducing Andy Griffith as Sheriff Andy Taylor, a widowed lawman raising his young son, Opie, played by young Ron Howard, in the sleepy town of Mayberry, North Carolina. Though the setting was fictional, Griffith described its feel as distinctly nostalgic, more reminiscent of the 1930s and the 1960s when it was filmed. It was of a time gone by, Griffith later reflected, capturing the show's magic. The cast of characters quickly became beloved American icons. There was the overly eager but hilariously inept Deputy Bonnie F.E. brought to life by Don Knotts, the kind and steady Aunt Bee, portrayed by Frances Baver, and of course, the precocious yet grounded Opie. Together, they formed a heartwarming family unit that seemed to echo real-life connections, or so fans thought. Despite its warm comedic tone, the Andy Griffith Show wasn't immune to conflict. Tensions simmered off camera, especially as egos clashed and personalities didn't always mesh. One feud in particular between Andy Griffith and a fellow cast member would remain hidden for decades, kept out of the spotlight while the cameras rolled, but not even Mayberry could keep secrets forever. Still, the show was a massive success. It never ranked lower than 7th in the Nielsen ratings, and in a rare feat, it ended its final season at number 1. Only I Love Lucy and Seinfeld share that honor. While Griffith never received an Emmy during the show's run, co-stars Knotts and Baver claimed 6 between them. The legacy lived on with spin-offs like Goomapile USMC, a 1986 reunion movie, and the continuation series Mayberry RFD. And to this day, fans celebrate Mayberry at an annual festival in Griffith's hometown of Mount Airy, North Carolina. Still clinging to a town that never really existed in a show that was anything but simple behind the scenes. But while the myth of Mayberry continued to enchant audiences, one boy from that set was quietly preparing for a life beyond the front porch and fishing pole. Background on Ron Howard. Ron Howard may be best known today as an acclaimed Hollywood director, but long before he stood behind the camera, he was America's favorite red-headed boy on one of TV's most beloved sitcoms. Born on March 1, 1954 in Duncan, Oklahoma, Ronald William Howard was born into a showbiz family. His father, Rance Howard, was an actor, writer, and director who adopted the stage name Howard after being born Rance Beckenholt. At the time of Ron's birth, Rance was serving a 3-year term in the U.S. Air Force. His mother, Jean Spiegel Howard, was an actress herself, making show business a family affair from the very beginning. Ron's heritage is a blend of German, English, Scottish, Irish, and Dutch roots. An American root that mirrored the wholesome characters he would come to portray. He was educated partly on the sets of studios like Desilu, where he was tutored as a working child actor, and partly in California's Burbank schools, including John Burroughs High School. Though he later attended USC's prestigious School of Cinematic Arts, he didn't graduate. His calling was already pulling him elsewhere. By the age of 5, Ron Howard had already racked up an impressive resume. His first credited film role came in The Journey, and he soon popped up in various TV shows like The Twilight Zone, The Dupin Show with June Allison, Dennis the Menace, and the many loves of Dobby Gillis. But his true breakout came in 1960 when he landed the role that would change everything, Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show. Credited then as Ronnie Howard, he played the young son of Sheriff Andy Taylor, Andy Griffith, for all 8 seasons of the series. Looking back on his first days on set, Howard once recalled being preoccupied with a toy turtle he had to pretend was real and dead. I remember him looking at that little turtle and talking to me about how it was kind of funny to have to pretend that it was dead, he said. So, I recall just a very relaxed first impression. That balance of gentle guidance and subtle humor was exactly the kind of tone that defined the series. Even though it aired in the 1960s, The Andy Griffith Show deliberately leaned into a tone of old-fashioned Americana. It was timeless, nostalgic, and radiated the warmth of a simpler era. Alongside Don Knotts' unforgettable portrayal of Barney F., Frances Bevoy's wise and nurturing Aunt Bee, and a colorful ensemble of Mayberry townsfolk, the show became a staple in American homes. Though it never won an Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series, it was nominated 3 times and co-stars Knotts and Bevier won 6 acting Emmys between them. But Howard's career didn't stop when The Andy Griffith Show ended. In fact, it only picked up steam. In 1974, he found a second wave of fame playing Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. What began as a segment of Love American Style quickly spun off into a hit series. As the wholesome, clean-cut Richie, Howard played the perfect foil to Henry Winkler's leather jacket street smart fans. On set, their chemistry was real both on-screen and off, and the duo helped catapult the show into pop culture legend. Still, Howard had his sights set beyond acting. Even while filming Happy Days, he was already exploring life behind the lens. His directorial debut came with a 1977 film Grand Theft Auto, a low-budget action comedy co-written with his father. The opportunity was part of a clever deal with producer Roger Corman. Howard would star in Eat My Dust in exchange for the chance to direct his own film. It was a turning point. Throughout the late 70s and early 80s, Howard directed several TV movies for NBC, including the 1980 film Skyward, starring screen legend B. Davis. But his big break as a director came in 1982 with Night Shift, a wild comedy featuring Shelley Long, Michael Keaton, and Henry Winkler. It marked Howard's arrival as a new creative force behind the camera. From there, he was unstoppable. In 1984, he directed Splash, a romantic fantasy comedy starring Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah, Eugene Levi, and John Candy. The film was both a box office and critical success, proving Howard could deliver hits with heart, humor, and wide appeal. What began with a toy turtle and a role as Opie Taylor became a lifelong career. Ron Howard was never just a child actor. He was a storyteller in training, and once he stepped behind the camera, he made sure Hollywood never forgot it. But before the awards, the box office triumphs, and the directorial acclaim, Howard cut his teeth on a set that wasn't nearly as sunny as it seemed. Behind the gentle pace of life in Mayberry, real tensions simmered. Tension that no camera could fully capture. Tensions on the set of The Andy Griffith Show. The drama on The Andy Griffith Show didn't just unfold in front of the camera. In fact, some of the most emotional storylines were happening behind the scenes between 2 of the show's biggest stars. Andy Griffith and Frances Bevoy were television royalty, iconic figures of mid-century entertainment best known for their warm portrayals of Sheriff Andy Taylor and Aunt Bee. But while they radiated harmony on screen, off-screen their relationship was anything but friendly. Much like the famously strained friendship between Selena Gomez and Francia Raisa, the tension between Griffith and Bevoy added a dramatic layer to an otherwise feel-good classic. For decades, this rift has sparked curiosity among fans and entertainment historians alike. The root of their friction lay in deep personality clashes and differing professional values. It wasn't a brief misunderstanding. It was a Cold War that quietly simmered behind Mayberry's white picket fences and followed them long after the final episode aired. This behind-the-scenes feud, often whispered about but rarely confirmed, has become part of the show's deeper legacy, one that complicates the rosy nostalgia viewers associate with The Andy Griffith Show. At the show's heart was Andy Griffith, playing the calm and collected Sheriff Andy Taylor. With a steady hand and a disarming smile, Sheriff Taylor brought peace to Mayberry without ever raising his voice. He was a widowed father, a wise lawman, and a steady moral compass for the town, balancing parenting, policing, and neighborly disputes with timeless grace. His charm defined the show's tone: warm, grounded, and quietly heroic. Sharing that warm space on the show was Frances Baver, cast as Aunt Bee, Andy Taylor's non-nonsense, kind-hearted aunt. Aunt Bee wasn't just a caretaker. She was the emotional center of the Taylor household. Her character provided comforting meals, gentle scoldings, and homespun wisdom. Baver's portrayal made Aunt Bee a cultural touchstone, the quintessential television aunt. Together, Sheriff Taylor and Aunt Bee represented a sense of home and community that millions of viewers adored. But while their characters painted the perfect picture of small-town family life, reality behind the scenes was far more turbulent. According to classic country music, the tension between Griffith and Baver stemmed from fundamental differences in how they approached their craft and each other. Baver, known for being deeply private,